Meeting to order. Now call the school building committee meeting to order. We stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could we stand for a moment of silence for all of fellow Americans that lost their lives in all the hurricanes and tornadoes these last couple of weeks? Thank you. Okay, there are no agenda adjustments for the school committee tonight. This meeting is being recorded because we have remote participation. All our votes will be done by roll call. And there are no agenda adjustments for the school building committee. Also, this meeting will be recorded. And because we have remote participation, all of our votes will be done by roll call. And moving, are there any comments tonight from the public for the school committee? Okay, school choice. I entertain a motion to suspend the regular meeting and open the public hearing on school choice for 2025 and 26. Motion. Second motion by Rockland. Second by Abington. Any discussion? Okay. I'll
Take a vote to go into the hearing. We'll just do a roll call vote to open the hearing.
so. I'll take a roll call vote and members for their vote. Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Yes.
Hanover. Yes. Hanson,
yes,
Marshfield,
Yes.
Norwell,
Yes.
Rockland,
Yes.
Situate, yes, Whitman.
Yes.
That's unanimous on that. Are there any comments from the public on school choice? No public members here, right?
Mr. Chair, I'll use the opportunity to just say we have historically not participated in school choice. The state asks all school districts to take up the matter in the springtime. There is a policy on non-resident students that's covered for vocational schools. So ultimately, I'd be recommending we continue to, at the conclusion, when we come out of this hearing, that we continue to not participate. Thank you.
Okay, I'd ask for a motion to close the public hearing and return.
Second.
Let's see, we got Hanover and Normal. Very good voice, but the Normal, perhaps. It was working. I never was saying. Didn't sound like it. Melodious. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Yes.
Hanover.
Yes.
Hanson,
yes,
Marshfield,
Yes.
Norwell,
Yes.
Rockland,
Yes.
and Whitman.
Yes.
Oh, it's Situate, got me. It's you, the vote is unanimous. Okay, next item would be the school choice determination for 25-26.
I will make that motion. I move that the South Shore Regional School District not participate in the school choice program for the school year 2025 to 2026 because the school district has an established process for admitting students who reside outside the school district. I will second that motion.
Okay, sorry this time. You sounded like you normally do. Abington, I'll take the roll call. Abington.
Yes.
Cohasset.
Yes.
Hanover.
Yes.
Hanson.
yes,
Marshfield.
Yes.
Norwell.
Yes.
Rockland.
Yes.
Situate, yes. Whitman.
Yes.
That vote is unanimous as well. Thank you. Next, we will hear from our student representative, Fenway. Is she here?
Looks like she is not on the Zoom, Mr. Chair.
She's not on, okay. Moving along. I'll recognize Keith Boyle to come to the podium and give his administration.
You choose the
Can I
furniture.
say that
You
that's-
choose the furniture.
So because Fenway is not here, I do want to report on a couple more things than just the two listed. I will start with the summer discovery program. Happy to provide some good news that the school, like we've done over the past couple of years, is offering a discovery program available to students rising sixth through eighth grade. Both in district and out of district. It's an opportunity for us to showcase what our school is about and really network and get younger students involved and aware of our school. The program right now, we have over 200 seats already sold out, and the program is running 2 back-to-back sections in July. The first week is July 7th to the 10th. It's a Monday through Thursday. And the second session is the 14th to the 17th. It's a self-funded program. Students pay to join and sign up, and the program helps, fund the teachers who instruct the program. So we are nearing capacity. The number of seats that we have available is like 245. So we're getting very close to being sold out, which is great. And I'm also happy to indicate that of the 12 vocational programs that we have here at the school, 11 of those programs will be running various summer programs. So it's a great representation across the board of all, South Shore has to offer. The next item is the CTI grant application. I just want to report out that late last month, we submitted an application to extend or to apply for a next round of funding. We are awaiting results of our application. We should hear in some point in either May or early June with a start date of July 1st if we are fortunate to be recipients. We have applied for nearly just under $4 million, which would carry us our night school program, our CTI evening school program for the next 2 school years if we're fortunate to be selected to move forward in the grant application. So that's great news. I mean, I'm sure as you drive by the school at night, you now see the parking lot is consistently full, and that's because of, our athletics, but also the programs that we're running to keep the building open at night. There's a couple other updates I'd just like to provide. I'd like to congratulate our horticulture and landscape construction program at a very successful FFA convention. I was happy to be able to spend some time up there at the convention for a couple days, seeing the smiles and the tears on the students' faces as their names were announced. It was an awesome experience, and I'm happy to indicate that the nursery landscape team won first place in the state, and they will be representing Massachusetts on the national level. I'm happy to also indicate that the floral team also won first place in the state, and they will also be representing Massachusetts on the national level come next October. And then the first time in the history of the school, we have from South Shore, we have 2 students who were elected state officers for FFA, both president and secretary, which is Jackson R. and Reese Hughes respectively, and they will be state officers for the next upcoming school year. There were other various scholarships, demonstrations, and other awards. The students had a phenomenal trip and did a great job. Our allied health program earlier this month, they celebrated their CNA pinning ceremony, where all of the senior class were celebrated with parents, staff members, former staff members, and friends and family, where they were recognized for their achievement of passing their CNA exam and taking the next steps as they are participating in co-op. The entire senior class is signed on co-op. And our Skills USA program here at the school, which is applicable to all of our students. We're sending 38 students up to the state convention, state conference at the beginning of May. So that's exciting news coming forward on Skills USA. And then, as you can see in the shared memo, we have a variety of both campus projects and off-campus projects. The highlight probably being the building next door that's being constructed by our carpentry program. Will also involve other programs, electrical, horticulture, HVAC, et cetera, on the construction and completion of that project. With that, I'm going to pass off to Ms. Baldwin.
Excellent. Good evening. I will continue the positive update begin on light and end a little heavier. First, I call it the party planning season. And so we planned the MCAS party and we were successful with our ELA implementation. And I just want to report to you gratitude to the teachers and the students who took the test very seriously in uncertain times. And we had many students who spent much longer than the assigned time to focus in and do well on, we hope do well on the assessment. So thank you. We thank our teachers for that and our students for that. We had our Credit for Life Fair, which is an academic program, which is umbrellaed under our math and our social studies programming. It's a civics initiative to ensure that our students all have access to at least a smattering of financial literacy. And it's also the beginning of the end for seniors. So it's a senior event and that really kicks off the senior spring. On Monday evening, as we exit our seniors, we enter our freshmen. And on Monday evening, we had our freshman orientation evening with the 180 plus students we were inviting into our doors next year. They were excited, their parents were excited. My favorite part was watching the students make their way in front of their parents, afraid of being late for their orientation session. So there's excited students on the way in September. So we're quite proud of that. And I'm going to extend an invitation to all of you to the May 10th Hall of Fame event. I'll make sure you get something in the mail as well, the electronic mail. It is at 9:30 and it's to celebrate those folks who have been nominated into South Tech's Hall of Fame. If you'd like to nominate someone, the window is closing, but if you would like to nominate someone, please let me or Mr. Hickey know. If you have suggested names, those have all been sent in for consideration. So you're welcome to do that.
And athletics.
It's athletics is under the umbrella of the Hall of Fame. There will be athletic students, alumni who fall under the umbrella of being successful due to their athletic prowess while at South Tech have been considered and will be recognized. And I end with this. Very proud of the work that our special technical high schools school council did this year on the school improvement plan. You've been provided with it. I'm going to highlight tonight just the new goals, but you'll notice on the document itself that there's information about goals that have been revised and extended into the next school year. And you'll notice goals that have a sunset, either we succeeded in those goals or they no longer will no longer be continuing those goals. But tonight I'm going to focus just on the new goals.
This has got that some.
Oh, you like that. So the first is one I'd really like to encourage you to talk about in your communities and with friends of South Shore Tech, and we will have a new cell phone practices next year. Cell phones are essentially will not be in our school next year. We are not going to collect them, but the assumption is that they are not in learning environments at all. The students will have access to them in the middle of the day at lunches, and students will have access to them on the academic side while they're passing between classes, because they will turn them in or set them aside, put them away, not to be seen at all during class time. That includes students who are making their way to the nurse's office, students who are making their way to the restroom, students are making their way to specialist office. Phones will not be allowed during the school day to focus on what is most important, learning, and 2, interpersonal communication. We're excited about what that can bring to our school, and we encourage folks to start talking about it now. It is a collaboration between the school council, which has parent representatives, student representatives, and staff of the school. So we do have the community involvement. I presented this numerous times to the Parents Association, so they are aware and in collaboration, and I've had opportunity to speak with, I would say, half a dozen in person, half a dozen to a dozen students in person about the cell phone practices changing. And in general, the students were, it was well received by the students. We do expect there to be some stumbling blocks next year, but we expect it to be a learning curve that is well worth it. We can move on one more to a school culture goal. We're really focusing on making the transition to the new building, ensuring that our students are happy, healthy, and have the opportunity to be celebrated as they've been in the past by developing an away game culture for our athletics. So, we are going to see what we can do to develop a funding source for a designated van and driver for, if there's an away game, the fan van can head out to, select contests. We're gonna develop a funding stream for food for fans. The Viking, the athletic organizations do a good job feeding their kids on long games, away games, getting them home. We wanna make sure we do the same for fans. Develop a marketing plan that encourages students to get out to those contests. Create a historical baseline of estimated previous student attendance at away, away contests, and show that we have at least, done at least 100% more. And build relationships with other leagues who had built at schools to see how they develop their away game culture in the next couple of years. We want it to be in place before it's needed.
And Cindy, if I'm forgive me, if I may, so fortunately, next school year will be our last, and you may have said this, our last normal school year. But they're looking further ahead to the fact that we're gonna enter a multi-year window where we will be, even when we're labeled as the home team, we will be somewhere else.
I want you to start thinking about wear it away whiteout, wear it away, other themed evenings, or events. We want you to be excited about participating in those plans, and we'll incentivize it the best we can. And finally, we have already built a new schedule with a 5-block day. And so our school council's goal is to monitor that 5-block day, and to take a look at what we're offering within our program of study, what is possible in the future, given the 5-block day. And understanding that some of those things have budgetary impact, which means that there's long-term planning involved in that. So we want to review the 5-block day to see that it reduces unexcused tardies and dismissals. We want to see that it increases opportunities for students to enroll in dual enrollment courses. We want to see that if it's possible for us to offer foreign languages in the 27 to 28 school year, so down the road, understanding that there's budget impact there, and a program of study that allows our students to be NCAA eligible in 25-26 at all levels, Division 1, 2, and 3. So we'll monitor the progress there. I see a question from the crowd.
I am so happy to see the cell phone program, or lack thereof, going forward. I've been a teacher and I've been, head-to-head competition with a cell phone, and it's a very uphill battle. So I think that's only gonna make sense. I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
When I was in school, I didn't have to worry about that.
No.
They were still on drumsticks. Yeah. Thank you very much. The next item is to approve the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from March 19th, 2025.
Yeah.
Second, Cohasset. Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Yes.
Hanover,
Yes.
Hanson,
yes,
Marshfield,
Yes.
Norwell. Yes. Rockland. Yes. Situate. Yes. Whitman.
Yes.
Okay, that again was unanimous. Okay, at this time I'll recognize Jim, and he will make his treasury report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the cover this month, we have the firefighter academy that's being run at the school, with little firefighters, the firefighters making, working on some of their skills with the apps and so forth. We also did the Cub Scouts that came over with the notepad, and they made, Cub Scout insignias on metal. And, the cosmetology program made a visit to Friendship Home, which is a program in Norwell that serves individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And they gave a lot of ladies nice haircuts, and again, much appreciated for your outreach to the community and stuff. Cash balances right now, at the end of March was $3.5 million. So we're still holding strong with the cash balances. We'll get into we'll build our final cycle May 1st for all of our member towns. So that'll give us an influx of cash to get us through the end of the year, so that'll be fine. Revenue for the month of March, we had our third installments that came through from Abington, Cohasset, Hanson, Marshfield and Whitman at this point. All member towns have paid their 3 installments of assessments. Marshfield was missing an invoice because of the way that the communication between town hall and the school department, and neither one was sure which one was paying. It's a specific bill, so that's been rectified and that's been paid since the end of March. Other income down below, we just have some earnings on the investments in our chapter 70 money that came through. So overall income for the month was $1.6 million. On our expenses, the total expenses for the month, expended $1.3 million. Again, most of that is in payroll. We also have, we paid a couple health insurance bills during the course of the month as well. We caught up on that. Health insurance, that's mainly just timing with vacations and so on. Other than everything else has been going fine. We've been doing some internal transfers between accounts. There's always a fuzzy area between what is the software, what is the license renewal, and just making sure everything's in its proper place. So everything is running smoothly, and that's the report. So.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion to approve the treasurer's report. Second, Hanover, and move to the second, Abington. Okay, roll call, Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Yes.
Hanover,
Yes.
Hanson,
yes,
Byfield, yes, Norwell, yes, Rockland, yes, Situate, yes, Whitman.
Yes.
And now I'll ask for, Jim to, a motion for the budget transfer.
Budget transfers represent $45,000 worth of transfers. Again, as we go over especially the end of the year transfers, realizing that the budget was formulated pretty much 15 months ago. And we do that, all the department heads do their best guess as far as where things are gonna go and so forth. So, but things change during the course of the year. There's repairs that pop up that we weren't expecting and so forth. So this month we're looking to add $25,000 into the repair budget, $63 into the postage budget. I mean, we're almost on target with that one. And $20,000 into dues and subscriptions budget. And we're taking that out of some anticipated savings in our utility budget, so.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve the budget transfer. Motion.
Second, Whitman.
Rockland, Whitman. Okay, Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Yes.
Hanover,
Yes.
Hanson,
yes,
Marshfield,
Yes.
Norwell, yes, Rockland, yes, Situate, yes, Whitman.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, the motion was unanimous. Anything else on other updates? Jim?
It's 9 months through the year. We're pretty much this is the time that we look through all the spending habits and payroll items, and we try to anticipate what our end of the year numbers will look like to see if there's any surpluses that can be utilized for any projects and so forth. So we're going through that process. Janine and Pam are doing great in the office. Pam's scrubbing all the payroll numbers to see where our savings are on the payroll side. Janine's working with the payable side to see what we have in the queue that needs to be paid and what potential savings would be. So and again, Tom and I will sit down and we'll finalize the number, and the number will change as we move forward through the school year. But overall, I think it's it's a normal part of seeing if we have any surpluses available.
All set?
Yeah.
Okay, next I'll turn it over to Dr. Hickey for his report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, Regional Planning Subcommittee update, met with members of the Regional Planning Subcommittee prior to this meeting and gave them an update that on March 24th, I attended Pembroke School Committee meeting, and I was at their invitation to watch and participate in the conversation about Pembroke's potential interest in joining our district. As part of their meeting, they also, as a school board, took a vote to authorize the superintendent to continue conversations about pursuing a regional agreement amendment. I felt it was important for that committee to go on record as saying that they felt strongly and positively about wanting to pursue this. I've been meeting with their regional planning committee, which is a cross section of folks in town. So it was gratifying to hear that the committee wanted to state publicly that they were interested in pursuing matters. Right now, it simply stands at our subcommittee where I'm having conversations about what it might involve. How might it look similar to Marshfield, and ultimately what the impacts might be to expand to another town. What I would like to do with the full committee is to bring something to you, once I've heard back from the Department of Education on some draft language. I've submitted some draft language. Our subcommittee took a vote this evening to authorize me to continue those conversations, that essentially the subcommittee thinks that there's merit in pursuing it. But all paths lead to this full school committee here. It's the school committee that has the ability to put forward a regional agreement amendment. That amendment is what would ultimately go to the new member town, potential new member town, as well as our own 9 towns. But I'd like to be able to, at a future meeting in the near future, walk through, for the benefit of those members of this committee, not on the subcommittee, where this will stand. I'll be able to send you some analysis in advance. What are the potential benefits in terms of cost savings and cost sharing with the building, with future operating budgets? And how do we make room for a 10th town? How does that factor into potential future enrollments? So I appreciate the work of the subcommittee getting into the weeds on this, but I will definitely bring you something back. What's our timeline to decide whether this is a good idea or not? I would peg the timeline at no later than the middle of the summer. And I would like to do something sooner than that. In other words, get some feedback from DESE. So if I have language to show you, I can say, they've looked at this and there are no issues. The good news is we've already been in front of DESE just in the past 12 months on a similar topic. So more to be said on that, Mr. Chair, and I'll bring something back to the full committee as soon as possible. Regarding the FY26 budget update, we have had 2 town meetings in the month of April. Both Abington and Situate approved our assessment. I also appreciate the town of Abington took up the question of the regional agreement amendment. They didn't have a quorum at their special town meeting, but they took up the matter to just go on record as supporting what the other member towns also had supported previous to that. Marshfield's town meeting is Monday, April 28th. And as I've listed in my note to you, we have 5 town meetings on Monday, May 5th. And that's always a busy night. And then we conclude our town meeting season with Cohasset on May 12th. I'd also mention, while this is not a direct budget item, I was at the State House this week. We're advocating for some bills that have been filed on behalf of the vocational community. Not the least of which is a bill that seeks to create a minimum reimbursement amount for MSBA projects for vocational schools. We're asking the legislature to find a way to set 75% as the minimum reimbursement rate for regional voc techs. As you know, our penciled in reimbursement rate is about 61%. That's what they call the eligible. And then, of course, the real number is around 40%. So we're going to work very hard to continue to raise awareness that regionalized vocational education is the most cost-effective way that our little towns can pull off what we are going to pull off. But because of the current reimbursement structure, there is not enough reimbursement relief from the state. So we're going to continue to advocate for that. I will share that legislative information with you in the event you would be interested in reaching out to your own state representatives. It doesn't happen in the first year. We've been talking about this, but we're looking to raise the issue again and again. So that is definitely a priority for us. And my third item, Mr. Chair, is to just point out that there's an updated school calendar in your folder. DESE, the Department of Education, changed its science MCAS testing dates. And because we live in the world of green days and red days and A cycles and B cycles, of course, it was right in the middle of a cycle. So we had to make that adjustment. And we also note on the calendar the last day of school is a half day of school. So there's no vote needed on that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Do we do a motion?
If you don't mind, Mr. Chair, I'll be happy to continue under new business. Members of
I'm talking about which motion do we?
I'll speak to that right now.
Take care of it.
Thank you, Jack. Yes. Under new business, the next item is to ask for a motion to submit a letter to the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, a draft of which you've seen, which puts the school committee on record as opposing an admissions lottery for vocational technical schools. The letter essentially says that admissions policy should remain under the local control of the school committee. And the proposed lottery language right now does not address issues of standards, especially around attendance and discipline. The letter does acknowledge that the changes in the regulations do attempt to strengthen the language around access to middle schools to be able to provide consistent information. With a vote of this board, I will submit the letter before the public comment window closes on Friday.
Second. And you seconded? Then you vote. Okay. You got Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Yes.
Hanover,
Yes.
Hanson,
yes,
Marshfield,
Yes.
Norwell,
Yes.
Rockland,
Yes.
Situate, yes. Whitman,
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
you will. That was unanimous, Jim.
Yes.
Okay, next up, we get the approval of an out-of-state field trip. Next. What is it, Outdoor Adventure Club to travel to Northern Outdoors in the Forks, Maine. Huh? Down Forks. That's in Maine, May 15th and 16th, 2025, for whitewater raft. Entertain a motion.
Motion,
Abington, second. Second is Cohasset. Any discussion? Okay, Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Yes.
Hanover,
Yes.
Hanson,
yes,
Marshfield,
Yes.
Norwell,
Yes.
Rockland,
Yes.
Situate, yes, Whitman,
Yes.
unanimous. Okay, now we have an approval of donation to our graphics design and visual communications program from Edwards Auto Parts in Brockton. I'd ask for a motion for this donation.
So moved.
Whitman, I saw your hand up, George. So you're second.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Thank you.
Okay. Roll call vote, Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Yes.
Hanover,
Yes.
Hanson,
yes,
Marshfield,
Yes.
Norwell,
Yes.
Rockland,
Yes.
Situate, yes, Whitman.
Yes.
Let's see, we got the next. I entertain a motion for the approval of surplus request for metal fab welding from Prime Line 175 ton hydraulic press brake.
I'll motion that.
Seems so excited to do that.
I know, well, that's kind of work.
We have a second. Marshfield. Okay. Roll call vote, Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Yes.
Hanover,
Yes.
Hanson,
yes,
Marshfield,
Yes.
Norwell,
Yes.
Rockland,
Yes.
Situate, yes, Whitman,
Yes.
unanimous. Requests, are there any requests for action? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the school committee meeting.
So moved, with due respect.
Whitman, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, George, you second. Okay, roll call vote, Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Yes.
Hanover,
Yes.
Hanson,
yes.
Marshfield,
Yes.
Norwell,
Yes.
Rockland,
Yes.
Situate, yes, and Whitman.
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned from school committee. Now it's up to you.
Oh, no. Everybody all set? Okay. All right, are there any comments tonight from the public for the school building committee? There is nobody back there, okay? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the March 19th, 2025 school building committee meeting. Situate, second, Abington. I'll call the roll, Bob Hayward, yes, Tom Hickey,
Yes.
Sandy Ballmer,
Yes.
George Clooney? Yes. Jim Collins?
Yes.
Bob Mahoney? Yes. Jack Manning?
Yes.
Bob Mello?
Not present.
Frank Muller?
yes,
Tom Petrozelli? Yes. Justin Reardon?
Yes.
Dan Salvucci?
Yes.
Keith Boyle?
Yes.
And Joe Zambello?
Yes.
So yours, Kev?
Thank you. Good evening. Good to see you all. We'll kick things off with. Those are already been approved. Yeah, we'll keep moving. All right, the first item is review and approval of invoices from the previous month, including invoice from left field. Invoice number $81,279, and DRA invoice number 15 for $757,500, and Suffolk Construction invoice, I all listed, but it's for $19,202, totaling $857,981. Happy to answer questions.
Any questions on the invoice? Seeing none.
Is this, the DRA, is that for all the planners?
That's the progressive design.
For design development, we're about a third of the way through it. So we've divided it somewhat equally, the monthly payments.
Okay, any other questions? I'll need a motion to approve the invoices. Situate, second by?
I'll second.
Whitman. Call the roll, Bob Hayward, yes. Tom Hickey.
Yes.
Sandy Baldwin.
Yes.
George Clooney.
Yes.
Jim Coughlin.
Yes.
Bob Mahoney.
Yes.
Jack Manning.
Yes.
Frank Muller.
yes,
Tom Petrozelli. Yes. Justin Reardon.
Yes.
Dan Salvucci.
Yes.
Keith Boyle.
Yes.
Joe Zambello.
Yes.
Motion carries. I'll turn it back to Kevin.
Thank you.
Project updates.
So the next item, I believe, is the budget. There are no major updates, just wanna circle back to the top part, the feasibility study agreement, which took us up to the vote in January. All invoices have been submitted for that and submitted to MSBA, and I'm happy to report that we, as we had reported previously, we have a savings of almost $400,000, so that will roll into whatever part of the budget we need it to, but I think that's good news. They don't always go that way. And then in terms of the rest of the budget, again, we're just in design development right now, so you'll continue to see invoices from Leftfield, DRA and Suffolk to go through design development, pre-construction for Suffolk, and eventually move into construction documents. So we'll continue to report on this, but really shouldn't be any surprises. The quick schedule update, again, no major changes since the last time we were here, at 10,000 feet. We're continuing through design development through June or July. We're gonna have a couple cost estimates during that time. Yeah, the next round of cost estimates will be in June, and we'll give you a report on that. We'll move into construction documents, and that'll, take us through the spring of 2026, but we've talked about doing some early packages during construction documents. We'll have more details once the team agrees on.
Yeah, we're working out the details still as to which subjects, like early site work and utilities. Bidding steel early, perhaps bidding concrete foundations early, while we're still finishing the plans that construction can start, so we collapse the time frame as most efficiently as possible. Hopefully, there's cost savings in doing that as well as time savings.
Yeah, and we're working closely with Suffolk on that, just to keep a close eye on the market to just obviously optimize our timing. Either at the next meeting or the following one, I think we'll have some consensus on how that schedule may look, and we'll present that in more detail. With the goal of starting some construction spring, summer 2026, and then hopefully opening school in the fall of 2028.
So no changes.
Yeah.
This is this is our. I guess, internal group work plan. These are some of the topics we've been working on at our weekly meeting, bi-weekly meetings. Most recently, you know, discussing exterior design concepts, MEP and fire protection. Today we discussed security and technology, and Crystal joined us, which is great. So I had emailed this out to the group. You're more than welcome to attend if any of these topics are more interesting than others to you. Please give me a heads up and I'll make sure you can, it's a virtual meeting, you can log on, listen, ask questions, and we're happy to have you there. Any questions on the working group?
Yeah, I have a question. Sure. You're saying so far we're saving 400,000?
Yes, for the initial,
Yeah.
for the initial feasibility study schematic design portion of this.
Yeah. Do we make any plans? I hate to jinx it, but if we end up with extra funding, you know, like $400,000 or $500,000 left over. Less that the project is designed, what do we do with that money? What can we do with that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, so we earmarked stabilization money, so essentially it stays
That's
there.
my question, just what I wanted to say.
That's where it would stay until this committee votes to extend it on another part of the project.
That was my suggestion. You already said.
Yeah, you'll have opportunities throughout the project, we'll be giving you updates to really.
I just hope I didn't jinx that.
No, that's the good thing about our team is we'll make decisions and ask for your feedback, and there'll be some votes. Well, when we eventually go to bid, part of the MSBA's process, we're gonna be updating the budget to reflect what the actual bids were. And MSBA, part of that process is MSBA requires some bold language of this committee to confirm if you wanna keep bid savings in, or if you wanna return to the district, but ultimately it's gonna be your decision.
Do you see any increase in supplies due to the cost of materials?
I was afraid you were gonna use the T word, but so.
Well, I had to deal with it when we were doing the DPW, doing the DPW.
Yeah, heard about it, so.
Yeah, what time is it?
Yeah.
Things are changing daily, it's hard to know, but given our work on other projects that are actually in construction or some that are just going out to bid. There's been no sort of like specific impact as yet, because they've just, started. There's been kind of warnings about, potential cost impacts. Another positive aspect of the MSBA program you should keep in mind is they have a buy American, policy to the best extent possible. We're supposed to specify American products where we can. But certain things like steel, they inevitably seem to cross the border into Canada, and there could be impacts there, but nothing specific that we can report on yet. Certainly Suffolk Construction has a good, feel for the marketplace and will keep us informed. Understand we're still about a year away from bidding, so hard to say, how that's gonna project.
Yeah.
Carl, I can actually speak up a little bit. So just so everyone knows is that currently Mexico and Canada have not had the tariff, exercised against them. They keep talking about it, but it has not been exercised.
Building in DPW was hot, about probably 2/3 of the way done. So we're kind of try to buy early and keep it on site.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen anything material. We've all
Right,
seen on our projects, sternly written letters and warnings, but I haven't seen anything concrete. The bidding market actually right now, I'd say the past 2 months has been very.
It has been aggressive,
Yeah,
which is
aggressive.
great for owners.
Yeah.
Mhm. So,
Jinx it again.
as the schedule showed, we've had, I think it's 3 working groups since we last met with you all as a building committee, so I just want to give you an update on that. One of them was about kind of the design, status and exterior materials and looking at the building 3-dimensionally. Another one was about, mechanical electrical systems, and the one today was about security and technology, so. Just to share with you a bit on what we shared in kind of an edited form, here with the working group, just to remind you that our inspiration was this New England farmhouse concept, but hopefully in kind of a contemporary version, and we're not literally gonna build things out of wood and so forth. We're looking for materials that are durable and have longevity and have a certain low maintenance and that kind of thing, so you can click through this, and so remember the concept of the way the building is shaped in sort of three parts, the way it bends to fit the available site is somewhat reminiscent of the way farmhouses have sort of a big house and a little house addition and then a barn kind of attached in a rambling fashion, so that still holds. And then as we found right here in Hanover, there are, you know, if you look at some of these, again, a different scale, obviously, than our building. But no, but they have the same
Just
kind
gonna
of,
ask the same question.
same kind of massing of, you know, big house, little house barn sort of. So that's what we've been following. But it can be done in a more contemporary way, if you look at some of these. Obviously, there's a little more glass in places, but we're sort of being, very strategic in how much glass we use. For energy reasons as well as for cost reasons. But notice some of the windows too, you'll see it in our three-dimensional model. That we do try to keep some of those same proportions so that it kind of fits in the context and all. Notice the metal roofs and also the overhangs on these more contemporary ones. They don't have big overhangs on all sides. It's a little crisper kind of volume. We hope to, you know, mimic that too. So then going to ours, it's still, we should report that it's very similar to what we've shown previously in schematic design. We're really, as the name of this phase suggests, we're developing the design. We're not changing it totally. We're looking at the details and getting into things. And we did want to share, you know, there's basically three major materials. I think if you click on it, Crystal, it'll come up. So there's a little bit of masonry material on this, just at the very base on the first floor, at the ground floor, and it's large scale. It's not brick. It's a little bit larger because again, it's more in proportion to the building. Then there's some insulated metal panels on the academic wings of the building, the center and the left hand side. Those are where the academic classrooms are and the science labs. Those are kind of smooth, but they're done in a horizontal fashion, so you kind of read the joints and in a way it's sort of like clapboards in a house. They read horizontally, and the window openings are squarish, as you can see there in those classrooms. And then the other material labeled precast concrete sandwich panels. These are the generic way to think of them. They're like Oreo cookies: concrete, insulation, and concrete. And that's the entire wall construction. So the exterior of the building is concrete. It can have texture to it. Now we'll share a few photos there. And the inside of the building, the inside of the walls is literally that concrete that just gets painted. We don't have to fur it out. We don't have to add a whole nother discipline of trades for that. And that's primarily on the gymnasium and auditorium side of the building. But then also, as we go around the rear, you see it's all of the shop buildings. Because again, we do a lot of vocational schools. We understand the need to have durable materials. And in, you know, the sixties and seventies, when your building was built here previously and others, you know, that would be achieved with concrete block. That's a lot of masonry, labor and materials. Now with, you know, a single precast panel, you can get that entire wall built inside and out and get that durable finish on the inside of the shops where you want it. And then the other thing to note is where we do have slope roofs, they're fairly limited, but on the gym at the one end and on the academic wing, those would be standing seam metal roofs, much like the barns have. And they'd be probably in a slate gray color, but we haven't finalized colors yet. That's another sort of iteration that we'll share with you when the time comes. So I think if you click on it, Crystal, yeah, just pointing out the standing seam metal roofs. The majority of the building actually is the flat roof, membrane roof. But by using it strategically in a few places like this, I think a lot of people, when they see the building, would think the building has sloped roofs. you know, even though it kind of fools you, three-quarters of the building has probably flat roofs on it with internal drains. So on the rear of the building, basically everything you see here on the exterior skin material of the building on this side are those precast concrete panels here. So everything from the shops on the first floor to the second and third floor classrooms on the back side here, and the auditorium on the far left of it. Those are all the concrete panels, sandwich panels again, so the inside surface of these walls are painted concrete. And then you can see on the roofs, just to be clear, we are showing, you know, areas where solar panels could go. But at this point in time, the panels themselves are not in the project budget. We're making provision for them both structurally and electrically, but there's still a discussion to be had as to how the school district wants to acquire those panels or implement them. A lot of buildings, if you go on Google Earth and look down at aerial photographs, you'll see so many buildings with flat roofs these days have solar panels on it. That doesn't mean that the building owner owns those panels. A lot of times they rent their roof to a third party and make a deal on the utility rate, on the electrical rate that they're paying. And they kind of achieve savings that way, and the third party gets some tax credits for owning the actual panels. So there's possibilities there to be discussed. The other thing, this roof plan shows some green areas on the flat roofs there. Those are vegetated roofs. I have a photo to show you, but whenever the building steps back like that and there are classrooms looking out over a flat roof, we want to sort of soften the view, you might say, and particularly eliminate the glare, because these roofs are sort of reflective, again, for energy reasons. But when you're in that classroom, and this unfortunately is sort of the southeast side of the building, in places that you almost have to wear sunglasses when you look out on those bright white roofs. So we just want to point that out too and show you the photo. We can go to the next one, Crystal. Thank you.
Before you go further.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, on the standing seam roof,
Mhm.
what are you doing about the snow sliding off?
Yeah, you might be able to see in those renderings, we put a couple layers of snow guards. Can you see the horizontal lines? They're like snow fences, snow rails. So the idea is that sort of holds the snow in place until it melts. So it doesn't all slough off at once. And fortunately, the way it's designed too, we don't have any places where people are walking or cars are parked under the sloped roofs.
I'll say to take,
Yeah.
air conditioning units right out.
Yes, exactly,
So-
and we do have some units below there on that.
That's why I asked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the idea is that those snow rails or fences, as they're called, they attach to the seams.
Right.
So they don't penetrate the roof and, you know, violate the waterproofness of it, but they hold snow.
You had a question?
Yeah, I just had,
Yeah.
coming back to the flooring, Carl, I can't remember if there's none of this part of the foundation or anything has radiant flooring.
We don't have any radiant flooring planned in this. It's a system that we haven't found to be economical yet on the scale of schools. So sometimes we use it in childcare spaces where the kids sit on the floor or in kindergarten rooms where the kids are often sitting on the floor, and so it provides the heat right there where they are. It's effective for that. But as an overall strategy, it's you know, difficult to project the longevity of it too. It's buried in the concrete slab. If you ever have to get at it, we're a little nervous about that for a building that's gonna be here for 50 years.
Even if there isn't radiant flooring, will there still be insulation on the inside of the foundation wall?
Yes, it goes up at least the height of the foundation wall and 4 feet in.
Yeah,
Once you're beyond that, it's kind of
so just helpful.
questionable, but.
So helpful moisture area.
Yeah,
Okay.
but what we'll have too, Bob, in this sketch, this phase rather, is a energy model. We take our three-dimensional architectural renderings, we give them to engineers who actually assign values to the insulation and the windows and in essence, create a model of the building from an energy point of view. And then they kind of simulate a whole year of operation with, you know, with the proper sun orientation and the schedule of the days, and they can figure out the energy use and
I was
we
just
can
concerned
test.
about the moisture coming, because that's a wet area back there.
Yeah, we're raising the footprint of the building too, to get up out of the water.
Yeah.
And we'll have some under slab drainage too, for that. Anything else, Justin?
Just a quick question about grass on the roof.
Mhm. Yeah, it's not exactly.
I was gonna say,
but-
well, that I guess was my question.
Yeah,
Did that add, obviously, if we're putting any type of vegetation on a roof, it's, you know, things grow.
click one more.
Does that add to our building maintenance costs down the road? Because we're gonna have to have somebody go up there.
No, it's just the opposite. It actually is, it's a virtual no maintenance kind of sedum. It's more like moss almost.
Alright.
We have a picture of it, I think, don't we?
Yeah, a couple more, I think.
If you keep going. Keep going. Keep going. There we are. Right there. So this is Cape Cod Tech, actually, and we have a very similar condition where there are classrooms there on the right overlooking the shop roof in front of them. And you can see it's sort of mossy, like low plants, doesn't need maintenance. It'll survive just on rainfall. It doesn't need to be irrigated, doesn't need to be mowed. And it actually prolongs the longevity of the roof underneath it because it's no longer exposed to the sun.
Okay.
So it doesn't break down as quickly.
But it also holds moisture, doesn't
And
it?
it holds moisture, which technically slows down the runoff, which the Conservation Commission people care about. You know, we have to go before them when we're near wetlands anyways, and they care about when rain falls on a parking lot, how fast is it gonna run off and affect the wetland? Most of the time, they wanna see as much, a delay to that, or can the water go back in the ground and so forth. And having this, take up some of the rainfall helps that situation.
Another question on that, Mike. Now, if it rains and that holds, I mean, it's gonna hold the rain, that puts extra weight on the roof.
A little bit, but that's calculated into the structure, yeah.
Why, and the purpose for that is to kind of darken some of the sunlight going into the.
And the absorption that we just talked about of rainfall, it helps in that regard too, but yes, it's both the glare of the sunlight into those classrooms, as well as the absorption of the.
So that would work better than like, we'll say AstroTurf, that's just, you don't do nothing to it, it's just.
Yeah, AstroTurf won't do anything with the water and, you know,
Well,
it's
unless you
more
have drains.
plastic. Yeah, well, there are drains still there, you can't quite see them here. And this material comes in trays too. So that's how it's installed, and then eventually you don't see the trays at all, that just becomes one mass. But if something did die or, you know, some reason, you know, near a mechanical unit or something, there was an issue and you can replace the turf, by just putting in another tray. It's sort of like, the size of a cookie sheet or something.
So Kyle, would that be under, sorry, Dave, would that be a rubberized membrane underneath?
Yeah, it's actually PVC, but Sarnafil, which is a local company here in Canton, yeah.
Yeah, but so it would be a rubber roof with everything on top of this, just to keep,
Yeah, there's a whole membrane roof under this vegetated area too.
so the roof's
Yeah.
protected more from the. like
Yes.
He said.
Ultraviolet, yeah, and-
Seeping through.
Yeah,
Yeah, in the sun.
and there's actually a protective layer there too, so the roots of the plants don't affect the membrane either, yeah. So, but just to go back to a couple, was there another question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Tell me about the sandwich wall, and I was
Yeah,
curious.
that's why I wanted to show these pictures here.
Yeah,
We've used it on other projects. These aren't all necessarily our photos, but a couple of these are, just to show you what you can do with this, because some people think concrete, it looks like a warehouse or, you know, it looks like Boston City Hall or something. It doesn't have to. It can have a lot of texture to it. You can lightly sandblast it, you can expose the aggregate, the stones in it. And it comes in, if you can vary the cement color, you can get a variety of colors to it too. It doesn't have to be just neutral gray.
How would
It can be
How would you
warmer.
go about installing a light switch on the wall? Do you run
You can do that as well.
conduit up the wall, or because you put the wires inside the insulation?
Exactly, if you go to the next slide, Crystal, there's a panel right there, that gray one on the upper left.
Yeah,
So when they construct this, they place concrete horizontally. So in the factory, they lay out a big form. And pour a layer of concrete, that's the outer face. Then they put the insulation down, they have some connectors sticking up out of that. And then they place the upper layer of concrete next. And they can embed electrical conduits in there where we need conduits on the outside
outlets
wall.
and whatever.
We coordinate that with them in advance with our electrical engineers and so
You think
forth.
with like a AC unit on the wall or a heating unit, baseboard, something like that?
Yeah, we generally try to avoid having things, penetrate, to minimize that.
Yeah,
We generally have heating, or on the perimeter at the ceiling,
yeah,
to provide heat there, but, the penetrations can be, coordinated so that they're actually put in the factory. And like a lot of materials, obviously, building it in the factory is better than building things in the
Sure.
field in this.
you know, if you have
Open range.
an outside water spigot for a garden hose or something like
Yeah.
that, that's gonna be incorporated at the factory.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are those panelized, are those gonna be panelized, and so they're gonna have isonine, if they're on an exterior wall? Or
They have rigid insulation. It's maybe not isonine, it might be some other insulation. I'm not sure if every manufacturer uses the same brand, but
I'm just saying, because isonine is limits you for any expansion of putting in outlets or whatever, because it's tough to get
yeah.
smacked down the wall.
Anything that are embedded in it or embedded in the concrete portion of the sandwich, not the insulation layer. So the insulation layer stays continuous.
Okay. So there'll be sleeves in
Hold on to it.
there'll be sleeves in the concrete top.
Right, and I wanted to point out, in this job, this is an auditorium we did, that's during construction on the upper right. Those panels are like 12 feet wide and 40 feet tall, and they were shipped from the factory, and they go from foundation to roof, one panel. So you can imagine how quickly the building gets enclosed too, and in this case, they're structural panels. So that the roof joists, rest directly on top of those. So they're not only the inside wall, outside wall insulation, they're also the structure in that case. In other places, like in the same school, this is when the school got finished. You can see there was a one-story portion at the base. That's why in that upper photograph, you can see there's sort of a finished, in this case, it was sort of corrugated on the top, because that was gonna be exposed. The bottom part is just plain concrete, because that got buried on the inside of the building eventually by the one-story building. But the rest of these concrete panels on the right down here, the lower photograph, running horizontally, that's all the concrete sandwich panels. Those are not structural panels, they're hung on a steel frame. So there's still a traditional steel frame, steel, deck and concrete filled floors. But the panels, connect from column to column. And I just wanted to share with you the inside of that. If you go to the next one, Crystal, the inside of those panels, here's the classroom. So that outside wall where the windows are, that's concrete, it's just painted. And then if you click, I think it shows you a little bit of flow. See the seam there? That's just the two panels coming together, and it's a cock, and there's insulation in there too. It's actually triply cocked. Cause it's, that's the weatherproof, outside, inside, and in between. There's spray foam insulation in there too, so, but that's the inside finish. And probably if you ask those kids and their teachers, they don't even realize it's concrete. People think it's drywall, it looks like plaster. But if you hit it, obviously it's very hard and durable, and it's just painted.
What if one of the panels, either on the inside or the outside, gets damaged from an impact? What's it like to repair something like that?
Yeah, first of all, if it gets damaged during construction, we have them replace it. The company that's in charge of installing them has to take care. And, but a few times they have come out to the field and patched it. You can patch concrete, like you patch a sidewalk or things like that. And on the inside, it's obviously painted, so you can hide the patch. On the outside, you have to be a little bit more of an artist to try to hide it. You gotta use the exact same cement color. And then if it's sandblasted, you gotta lightly sandblast it so the texture comes. So it takes a little bit of artistic, but obviously it's pretty hard to damage concrete, you know, on the outside. It's a very durable, material. And then just to show you, this is, again, another vocational school, but, as to what the shop, elevations will look like. Glass overhead doors, so you get a lot of natural light, and the other material next to the doors, that's light translucent materials. You may know the brand name Calwall. It's a polycarbonate material. It diffuses the light, but it's an economical and, energy efficient way to have a lot of light come in. If we did that in traditional windows, it would cost a lot more. So we put vision glass down where people are. Those windows are, you know, down when you're sitting, you can look out the window and see daylight. So you don't feel like you're, you know, claustrophobic or something. But you can get, you know, natural light up above. There's some concrete panels there too. You can see the different colors. Between the two Calwall panels, that vertical piece, that's concrete. You can see it's a different color and texture. And then above the doors and windows is also the concrete panels spanning. You can see they're like 25 or 30 feet long, going from column to column up above. And you can see some penetrations that were put in there. One's a roof scupper, I think there's a light going on over the door that's gonna be installed there. And this, I think, is the HVAC shop. See the masonry under the windows, there's some sleeves in there. That's because in the HVAC shop, you know, they have some outdoor condensers. And they have to run wires back and forth, so the kids get training on that sort of thing. So, you know, those get built in too, to the finish. But this is not necessarily the colors, but some of the same materials that we would recommend, for the backside of the school here. And then just to show you metal panel, again, don't look at the colors here, but you can see a metal panel is much smoother, crisper kind of material, that we have in the center of the building. And then just to share with you that photo of what the step backs look like. So that was one of the working group sessions we had. We did talk about security and technology today too, as was mentioned. Crystal joined us as well. And we'll be spending more time, our consultant, with her and to get into a lot of detail as to, you know, exactly where outlets are and things like that. But at a high level, we talked about, you know, the approach to security, cameras, gates, door hardware, things like that. We talked about instructional technology too, what goes in the typical classroom, how is Wi-Fi distributed in the building, where fiber optics brought into the building, all those sorts of decisions. How's this building connected to the future school as well, make sure that's addressed. Those kinds of topics we went over today.
Thank you.
I was curious about getting in the building. Does everybody have some kind of a card that they?
We talked about that. Right now, we suppose teachers would, but not students as yet. Some schools, students do have cards too. And you can leave the doors totally locked all the time, assuming kids are good and don't lose their card, and can get in. But no, we anticipate that during morning arrival time, the main entrance doors would be unlocked, so kids could flow in, sort of supervised. At some point, then they get locked, and they can be locked remotely. You don't have to go around with a key as a, you know, custodian. And then after that, there would be an intercom with a camera, and visitors would get buzzed in. And you recall there's a series of doors. You can get buzzed into the vestibule, then you can get buzzed into the public lobby if you're going just to the restaurant or the salon. If you're going further in after you check into the office, then you can proceed further into the school. So it's a very well organized, sort of intuitive system going through, you know, one level of security well supervised and easily checked in by the main office.
Yeah, is this, this is, I hate to ask another question, but is this, controlled construction?
Controlled construction, yes.
So,
All of our professionals, architects, engineers, all have to sign
local building
affidavit.
inspectors will not have to be involved.
Yeah, usually what we find is that like the plumbing inspector, electrical inspectors would like to still come out, even though our engineers are on the job. They still would look at a few key things, but they don't have to come out like they do building a house.
We still have to submit a formal plan.
We do, and you still have to pay somewhat of a building permit, depending on what the town of Hanover says. A lot of public officials will say, well, we'll waive the building permit cost, but we would like to collect something for our time, for the plumbing inspector, electrical inspector to come out. So there's still a little bit of cost there. I don't know that we formalized that with Hanover yet, but we need to get that agreement in place, because on a, a project this size, if they charge the same percentage that they do for a house, it would be, $1 million or something, and there's no way that they would need that much to cover their time.
Tom,
So-
we've been through planning and zoning already?
No, we will go through site plan review.
Okay, but that's my next question was, well, we're a third way done with plans, but sometimes those take times from being a formal, and what really in town here, but
Yeah.
sometimes that could be, they could stretch you out
Yes.
time to
they-
time with
they
that,
can,
so
we
that's why,
understand.
but just was, how long before you think the plans
We,
would be?
we typically would start the process at the end of this phase, so like in June, the plans would be developed enough, particularly the site plans, but also the building plans, that we could then apply to start site plan review, we apply to the Conservation Commission. And so even if they only meet once a month, or if they don't meet in the summer, remember, we're not gonna be.
Some of them don't meet in summertime.
Yeah, we're not gonna be finished with construction documents till even the early phases till December or something, so we have several months still to meet with them and get them lined up. We don't anticipate a lot of issues, it's, I know it's a complicated and expensive, large building, but we've got a lot of professionals on board, and most planning boards are just pleased, to understand that people who have done this before, yeah.
That's the problem, that they won't get board, so. it's not-
Yes.
Okay,
Thanks.
Carl, I like the farmhouse design. Is that the final design of the building, or are you gonna present multiple versions for the committee to vote on?
No, as we say, we're not really changing things, we're looking at refining the details. That's more like, what are the dimensions of the windows? We're not gonna change and go to curtain walls or strip windows now. The design's pretty well set in that, the scale you see here. We're looking at more dimensional kinds of details.
anything else? No, everybody else there?
For now, all good.
I had to look back, make sure I see everybody. All right, with that, thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Kevin. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the school building committee meeting.
Second.
Okay, call the roll. Bob Hayward, yes. Tom Hickey.
Yes.
Sandy Baldwin.
Yes.
George Cooney.
Yes.
Jim Coughlin.
Yes.
Bob Mahoney. Yes. Jack Manning. Yes. Frank Moller.
Yes.
Tom Petrozelli. Yes. Dustin Reardon.
Yes.
Dan Salvucci.
Yes.
And Keith Boyle. We are adjourned.